The old Chevrolet was sitting in the back corner of the lot. Its once bright red paint faded to a dull maroon. The salesman told me it had been through multiple owners and that I was getting a steal of a deal. Despite a vague uneasiness, I handed over the cash, reasoning that I desperately needed a car for work. The first odd thing happened on the drive home. Every time I passed a street that led out of town, the steering wheel would stiffen, forcing me back onto my original route. I laughed nervously, thinking I must be imagining things. That night, I stood by the kitchen window and stared at the Chevy parked in my driveway. Its headlights seemed to flicker briefly, even though the car was off. When I peered closer, I thought I saw a shadow move across the driver's seat. Goosebumps crawled up my arms. The next morning, I tried to take the car for an early test drive to ease my anxiety. As I turned the key in the ignition, a low growl emerged from the engine, too guttural to be mechanical. I hesitated, but decided to press on. Every turn I attempted seemed to meet resistance. The wheel shifted itself in ways I couldn't control, redirecting me toward an abandoned section of the city. When I stopped the car, my phone buzzed with an unknown notification. The screen read, "This isn't your destination yet." Startled, I dropped the phone and reached for the handle, but the doors refused to open. The air inside grew stifling, and a faint stench of burnt rubber filled my nose. When I glanced in the rearview mirror, I screamed. There was a face, twisted, pale, with hollow black eyes, staring back at me from the back seat. I tried to jump out, but the seatbelt locked me in place. The shadowy figure slowly leaned forward, whispering in a voice that wasn't entirely human. "You bought me. Now you belong to me." The next thing I knew, I was driving again, but my hands weren't on the wheel. The car was speeding toward the forest outside town, taking me deeper and deeper into darkness. The radio flickered on, crackling with static before a voice rasped through. "You'll never leave." I don't know how long I've been trapped here now. The car drives itself endlessly, day and night. My phone has no signal, and the windows show only shifting shadows and endless roads. Sometimes when I glance in the rearview mirror, I see faces staring back at me. I bought a used car, but it wasn't just a car. It was a prison, one I fear I'll never escape. The days blurred together as the car drove me farther from anything resembling civilization. My throat was dry from screaming, and my mind teetered between desperation and resignation. Occasionally, the faint voices on the radio whispered things I didn't understand, chilling my blood. One night, I felt the car's engine falter, the rumble uneven. The headlights flickered, and I seized the moment. Whatever force controlled the car seemed weaker. This might be my only chance. I slammed my fist into the dashboard, yelling, "I don't belong to you." The radio hissed violently, but I kept screaming, pouring my terror and rage into each word. The seatbelt tightened around my chest like a snake, trying to suffocate me, but I clawed at it. The car swerved violently as if in retaliation, throwing me side to side. Trees blurred past the windows, and I braced myself for impact as it hurtled toward a ditch. At the last moment, I twisted the wheel with all my strength. The tires screeched as the car spun out of control, skidding into a cluster of trees and crashing hard. The windshield shattered, spraying glass, and the airbag deployed, slamming me into the seat. Dazed and bleeding, I forced the mangled door open, ignoring the fiery pain in my arm and legs. For the first time in days, or was it weeks, I was free. I stumbled into the forest, the sound of the car's growl echoing behind me. The headlights flickered one last time, illuminating the silhouette of a figure standing near the wreckage. It was the same face I had seen in the rearview mirror, its black eyes locking onto mine. I ran, not daring to look back. Hours later, I collapsed near a deserted road. A passing truck driver found me and took me to a hospital. When I told the police about the car, they returned to the crash site. But when they arrived, there was no car, only scorch marks on the ground and the faint smell of burnt rubber. I moved to a new town, never telling anyone what happened. I refuse to drive now, walking everywhere despite the inconvenience. Sometimes, late at night, I hear a low growl outside my window. And when I look, there are fresh tire tracks leading into the darkness.